I now call the member for Whitsunday.
Thanks very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I too rise to make a contribution this evening to the debate on the Termination of Pregnancy Bill 2018. And before I get into it, I want to pay tribute to my mum. All those years ago, in tough times, goodness knows what Mum would have been thinking when I was in her belly, and without the support of my late grandmother and others, many of whom I don't know, we may not have been here today. In the context of this debate, for me, that's pretty significant. Mr Deputy Speaker, this bill that is before the House is thanks to the Palaszczuk Labor government. But as I am reminded by many people, and whilst this has been a very respectful debate, this is the government that's been the most left-leaning government in Queensland political history. And they clearly make no apology for that. You've got to ask the question, Mr Deputy Speaker, would this have ever happened under former Labor governments headed by Premiers Goss, Beattie and Bligh? I say no because there were genuinely socially conservative MPs in the Labor caucus back then, and they were not held captive by those inner-city socialists and Green activists. The times have changed. It is a Labor bill, but it looks more like something from the Greens. And I guess that's why the member for South Brisbane wants this, in many ways hoping to stave off another attack from the Greens. It is true that Labor government MPs have been given a conscience vote on this highly controversial and emotive bill. But as I said on Sky News last Friday, Mr Deputy Speaker, I think it's a Clayton's conscience vote, because I've got no doubt there are government MPs that are worried about what will happen to them if they don't vote the right way. Here on the LNP side, Mr Deputy Speaker, we have a real conscience vote, don't we? And that's on the back of what was decided in the LNP party room last Tuesday, when it was unanimously decided that we would have that. What a privilege, Mr Deputy Speaker, in keeping with tradition on our side of the aisle. And last week on national television I did say I would be voting no, and nothing's changed. Nothing has changed, Deputy Speaker. In my part of the world, we are unashamedly pretty conservative people. My office, no different to a number of MPs on this side of the fence, Mr Deputy Speaker, particularly regional MPs, we have been inundated by people who want us to vote no. That's right. Including many people we never hear from, and including some people, to be blunt, Deputy Speaker, would not vote for me in a fit. They have implored me, as one of 93, just to do my bit. Some of those people would argue blue in the face with on so many areas of public policy. But for this, they, like me, say no, because there is overreach and then some in relation to this bill. That convergence of people from all walks of life, and the fact that there are people out there who look at me and they say, yeah, he's not I'm not their cup of tea. I acknowledged that last Saturday in Mackay, the city that I represent, at the 4th annual March for the Babies, organised by Cherish Life. Now, I've not been before, Deputy Speaker, but I felt it was important to go and look people in the eye and tell them straight. It was a well-attended march, Deputy Speaker, and I acknowledge the leadership of constituent Dr Kiara Ross President of Cherish Life Mackay and others for organising this peaceful march, which included many churchgoers from across the various denominations, particularly the Catholic Church, which is pretty important in Mackay, significant in Mackay, thanks to those Irish immigrants. I'm a descendant of one of them. And the Maltese. I take the interjection from my good friend, the member for Southern Downs. I was coming to them, the Italians, the Filipinos in more recent times. Mr Deputy Speaker, guess what? They all go to church, and they all vote. It's worth noting the march last Saturday was across the Forgan Bridge, originally named after the mother of the former Labor Premier and legendary member for Mackay, William Forgan Smith. I wonder if he would have voted for this, or the late Edmund Casey, whom I remember well as a young journalist growing up in Mackay, or even Tim Mulheron, the former Labor member for Mackay, whom my late mother once cared for. We did hear yesterday from the current member for Mackay, and I'm disappointed she failed to even mention her home parish of St Mary's in South Mackay, where I happened to start school, go to church in 77 under Father Anderson and Father Hannafin. I do concede that she mentioned Father Don White and Bishop Michael McCarthy, the Bishop of Rockhampton, and listened to their concerns, but it seems it went in one ear and out the other. Let's not all forget that these parishioners are wondering what's going on in Brisbane right now. Or the strong Maltese community in Mackay, which came together at Francis of Assisi Nursing Home last month to celebrate Our Lady of Victories, an important event on the Maltese calendar in our part of the world, which I attended, as did the Labor member for Mackay. We shouldn't forget either that of all the submissions that hit the inbox of the committee that examined the bill, 80% of them almost made it clear they wanted the bill to be voted down. Yes, the Law Reform Commission was all for it, but stacked with lefties. And the same can be said of the AMA, which is nowadays calling for the termination of the coal industry, not just the termination of pregnancy. This is the same AMA that continues to pick on constituent and former AMA State President Dr Bill Boyd, who has delivered countless babies. A decent man, still helping our community, notwithstanding the rubbish coming out of the AMA. And I cannot believe their position on this, nor can many other doctors in my part of the world. Mr Deputy Speaker, in summing up here on what is a deeply personal issue for all of us, no matter what we think. It's a matter of life and death, as we all know. Taking abortion out of the criminal code is one thing, and yes, there is growing community sentiment and support, I believe, across the state for this to happen. As a father of two teenage girls, not just as an MP, I can't stand here today and think the obvious. No woman at all in this state should be fearing imprisonment for having an abortion. However, I cannot support abortion on demand, a free-for-all for any reason, including social reasons, up to 22 weeks gestation. Our LNP membership does not want it, my constituents do not want it, and I certainly do not want it. As we've heard many times in this debate, after 22 weeks, terminations will need the approval of 2 doctors, but this could well be box ticking. What defines consultation? Where is the counselling? Where is the cooling off period? What about the safe access areas? How can you say there's a genuine safeguard for the health and well-being of an expectant mother and her baby under those circumstances? Yes, the baby. Let's not forget that. Mr Deputy Speaker, we all come into this place supposedly to speak up for our constituents, no matter where we come from. But who's standing up for those who can't speak? I know I am, and consequently I cannot and will not support this radical bill before the House.